let's look at the reinforcement number 1 for acids and bases. So in this, you're going to identify it as a characteristic that is an A for an acid, B for a base, or AB, which is both acid and base. So if it has a sour taste, it's probably an acid. If it has a bitter taste, probably a base. If it produces hydrogen ions in solution, it's an acid. If it's corrosive, that could be either an acid or a base. If it feels slippery, it's probably a base. If it can cause severe burns and cause tissue damage, acids and bases can both do this. If it exists as a crystalline solid when it's not dissolved, that's probably a base. If it produces hydroxide ions in solutions, that's definitely a base. If it reacts with predictable indicators to produce a color change, then that could be either an acid or a base. And then number 10, soaps are an example. Soaps are bases. It could be used to make fertilizer. That's true of both acids and bases. Gastric juice in your stomach is hydrochloric acid, so that is definitely an acid. If it produces hydronium ions, which come from hydrogen ions joining with water molecules, that's definitely an acid. Most compounds that produce this in aqueous solutions are ionic, so this portion would indicate a base. If the solution contains more hydronium ions than OH ions, it's an acid. Hydrochloric acid is an example, that's an acid. And ammonia is an example of a base. So that's the first part. Make sure you fill those in and know those characteristics, especially the ones that are shared in common. Let's look at the last few questions. Use the information above to identify 4 properties that acids and bases have in common. So anything that had the A and B in there are fair game. So you could have said they're corrosive, they can cause burns and tissue damage, they can be detected with indicators, or they may be used in fertilizers. Those are 4 examples of things that acids and bases have in common. And 3 things that are true about acids but not bases. So anything true about an acid could be listed here. So for example, you could say they have a sour taste, they produce hydrogen ions in solution, and they are formed through ionization. And then number 20, identify 3 facts about bases that are not true of acids. Could have listed anything that's had just the B as an answer. Bases have a bitter taste, they feel slippery, they produce hydroxide ions in solution, are good examples of those. But there are more right answers than what I've given you here.